toasty tops. Greetings and welcome to Cooking with Squirrel. If you're new here, I'm the Squirrel. Today we are going to make a herbed up jalapeno pepper poppers. So I wanted to make a lighter, kind of fresher version of jalapeno poppers. And this is what I came up with. So we're gonna do some chevre, AKA soft goat cheese, with some parsley, sage, garlic, and lemon zest in it. And then we're gonna throw a little topping of crushed corn chips on top of that and then bake it instead of fry it. So let's get into the cook. But before we do that, let me give you a little punch in on this shirt because it's a little harder to see. So we'll go whoop. Check that out real quick and then we'll get into the cook. So let's start our filling. So we're gonna start with some room temperature chevre, AKA fresh goat cheese. And we're gonna do about a pound of that. Bloop. And bloop. 2 tablespoons of minced flat leaf, AKA Italian parsley, and 2 teaspoons of fresh minced sage. We're gonna throw that in. Then next we're gonna go in with 1 teaspoon of kosher salt. Morton's Kosher Coarse is what I use. You can add more or less to your taste. And then about a teaspoon of black pepper, however much you really like. Fresh cracked, of course, because it's tastier. Zest 1 lemon. And I've said this in other videos, but I like short zests. You can see these are super, super tiny, short. They're not long, stringy. So that's why I do this kind of quick cut around instead of like a long, straight cut. So if you go like that, you end up with longer threads, and that's not what I want. There we go. We'll save the lemon for juice for something else later. And in we go with our zest. 2 cloves of garlic. So let's break into this. This is hard neck. Locally grown garlic, so it's a little bit different than your standard garlic, but use whatever you got. It's harder to do the palm technique with this because it's got this big, hard neck. So just kind of break into this on one side. There we go. Now we're in. So I'll grab 1 and 2 and give this a light crush so we can get the peel off. There's 1. And you can go more or less to your taste. I like a lot, so these are larger cloves, but I'm gonna stick with the 2 here because I like a lot of garlic. And it will get lightly cooked when we bake this, so it won't be too overpowering. And then you can mince this, but I prefer to use a microplane just like I did with the zest. And we'll do that. Just watch your fingernails. This won't cut your skin, but if it catches a nail, it'll cut a nail in there, and then you'll have a gross nail in your dish. Don't do that. And 2. Now we're gonna give this a good mix. You wanna use something relatively stiff. Wooden spoon would work. I like a stiffer silicone spatula type situation. And if your chevre is nice and soft, this won't be too much of an issue. Luckily, I remembered to take it out on time. Otherwise, we'd be having a much worse time right now. Keep smearing and stirring. Kind of flip it over and fold it a little bit. Then smear, flip and fold, smear. Just do that until everything's well incorporated. All right, that is our filling done. Nice and evenly mixed. We'll set that to the side and we'll prep our peppers. So this will make 18-ish whole peppers worth. I'm only gonna do 6 today because there's not enough people to eat 18 of them. There's 2 ways to prep these. You can leave the stem on and cut through the stem, or you can nip the stem off and then you can actually eat the entire thing. So kind of preference. If you cut through the stem with a standard chef knife, it's going to dull it a little quicker. I want to retain the structural integrity down here, so I don't want to cut the top of the pepper off, but I want to just nip the actual stem off so the woody part's gone, but we still have structural integrity there. So we're going to do that with a serrated knife, which will not take as much damage from the stem. All right, one thing we should have done at the beginning is preheat the oven to 450. So I'm gonna do that now. We're gonna cut these dead center down and hope that they lay nice and flat when they're in the pan. But we also have a trick that I'm gonna show you if they don't wanna lay flat. One more knife coming out. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take a paring knife. I'm just gonna make a little tiny incision at the core to keep this wall here still solid, but the core will now be released. So just a little cut. Don't cut all the way through to the back side. You could probably do this with a spoon, but this kind of guarantees that you don't tear out the end accidentally. Spoon time. Grab a bowl. We're gonna take our spoon and we're just gonna cut out those ribs and the seeds. Make room for our filling. You can see with that cut, that just pops right out of there. It's nice and clean. Scrape that out. Do watch your eyeballs when you scrape, because that will want to shoot some capsaicin in your eyeballs, which is uncomfortable at best. The more of the ribs you get out, the less hot these will be. The capsaicin lives almost entirely in the ribs. There's a misconception that it's in the seeds, but the reason people believe that is because the seeds are attached to the ribs. So capsaicin in the ribs, the more you take out, the less hot this will be. So if you want to, also you can make this. I inhaled some capsaicin. You can make this with other peppers. You might have to adjust the bake time. I've done it with cherry peppers, very, very good. Habaneros and red Fresnos. It's good in all of them. I think the nicest application is the jalapeno though, because it has thicker walls, it has more flesh, and it just has a nicer mouthfeel when you eat it. They're all really good though, but this is the most accessible and easiest to make, I think. Finishing up the last one here, and we will move into filling these. Let me clean all this up real quick. We're gonna get these in the pan, but I'm gonna show you a trick, because as you can see, this one wants to lay over on its side, which once it bakes is not gonna be nice because the filling's gonna wanna roll out. So I will show you the trick. The interesting thing with foil is you can form it really easily, so we can make some nice divots in this. Still got the capsaicin in there. We can kind of crumple this up and create a surface on which we can then just kind of push things into. I'll show you what that looks like in just a second here. All right, that doesn't look like much, but watch this. All right, so we had our little, where'd he go? There he is. Had our little rocking pepper. Now if we take him and find a spot in this, we can set him so he'll sit flat. So that way he'll bake just like that and not have to worry about him rolling over and stuff falling out of him. Most of the time you can just kind of push them down into the crinkles and they'll sit nice. So we're gonna top these with stale, leftover corn chips. So any type you have, they're stale and leftover, whatever, or you can use fresh ones, but I just happen to have the end of a bag that got stale. So we're gonna take these. There's two ways to do it. There's probably more than two ways. I'm gonna do it in a Ziploc and crush them in that with a rolling pin. You could also use a food processor, crush them down to a nice crumb size. But pretty much everybody has a bag and a stick, so we're gonna go that route. So we need about a cup. And if you don't use these all up, this isn't a meat thing, so like a lot of breading things, when you're putting meat in them, you can't reuse them. This is just cheese, so if you have leftovers, you can bread other stuff with them later. Actually, you know what? I'll do this whole bag because it's old and stale, so I'll go ahead and crush up this whole thing. Now you do have to be careful when you're crushing chips in a bag not to break the bag out. So if you want to get as much air out as possible, because if you have too much air, you can actually pop the bag. So we'll start with this and just kind of, you can see I'm already like, the bag's full of air, so we'll take a little more air out. Get a rough crush going with our hands. Get most of that air out. And let's give it a crush. Looks pretty good to me. Let's get in a bowl. This will work a little better with whatever chip is salted a little bit. It makes it a little easier, nicer, and a tastier topping. But you can always sprinkle a little salt on after they're done baking if you need to. So we're gonna do these one at a time. I'm gonna grab one pepper, gonna get a scoop of filling, and it's almost like laying brick. We kind of want to squidge that down in there. And I want a little bit of a raised surface. So we have that, just a little bit proud. And then we're gonna go right into our chips, give it a nice press, throw it in the wrong spot, and then back into the spot it came out of. And rinse and repeat until you're done. Side note, you could also do this with cream cheese. If you're not a fan of chevre, or if you just can't find chevre, or chevre is too expensive, because it is a little bit more expensive, absolutely you could do this with cream cheese, and I think it would be absolutely delicious. So give that a shot. In we go, 450 oven. We're gonna go for 10 minutes in the upper third of the oven. Okay, we hit the 10-minute mark. We're gonna put this on broil for 1 minute. And about 1 minute. Keep an eye on it. If it burns, it's gonna be awful. We lost both cameras at the same time, so we're going handheld. And here's our beautiful, beautiful toasty tops. Could go a little darker if we wanted to, but that's good enough for me for now. And I'll be right back in a minute when I get all the cameras working. The camera disaster is over, and we're back. We're gonna give these a taste, see if I can burn my mouth real quick. So, let's get these nice crispy boys in my face hole. Ooh. Oh yeah, they are very hot. Try one of these thinner ones. That's my finger. So yeah, let these rest before you serve them to regular people, but I'm gonna burn myself now. Ow! Mmm! That is really, really good. So you get all that herbiness out of it and some tang from the chevre. A little pop of spice from the jalapeno, but it's still got a little crunch and vegetable notes to it. It's really tasty. When they're not burning hot, you can eat a bunch of them really quick. Yeah, give these a try. It's a little bit different spin on it. They're easy to make for like a game day. You got people coming over to watch the game. Make a big tray of these. Very tasty. Something a little bit different, a little bit lighter than a full-on deep-fried breaded jalapeno pepper popper. If you could do all the YouTube things, that would really help out the channel. Like, comment, subscribe. If you make this, again, tag me on Instagram, Cooking with Squirrel, just like it is here on YouTube. Let me know what you think of it. And if you have any positivity in your life, please try and pay it forward. Go out there, do something nice for somebody today. Make the world a little bit better place. And thank you for stopping by. If you're interested in any more of my videos, you can check one out up here. And if you are interested in any of my food and philanthropy videos, I have a playlist of those down here. Good?